graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody, welcome to The Blacklist, episode 1. My name's Tony, and I'm joined by Jason and Adam.
Yo!
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Now, most of you, at least I assume, know who me and Jason are from our other podcast, Forward Compatible.
If not, you shouldn't be here.
But we brought Adam along today. Adam, would you like to take a second and introduce yourself?
I've known Jason for a long time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome.
And we worked together for 2 months?
Yes.
And never worked?
Never worked together, but worked together. Yeah. Well, what we decided to do was actually set up a second podcast to run alongside Forward Compatible, and this is actually going to focus on everything but video games.
And some video games, too.
Yeah, we might get into video games occasionally. These aren't as structured. It's just us kind of sitting around bullshitting. We're going to talk about whatever we want on that particular day.
This is a life cast, basically. We're going to sit around and talk about shit that we like, things that interest us.
Yeah.
There's going to definitely be some debates over different things. But the way that we're going to kind of work it is we're going to basically pick a topic and then just sit here for as long as until you get bored and turn it off. And put our thoughts to, I was going to say tape, but that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
It's not really tape. Digital format.
Out into the interwebs.
Yes, for the masses.
And considering it's that time of the year, my favorite time of the year. Is it anyone else's?
Definitely mine.
Definitely,
Yeah,
yes. Everybody's favorite time of the year. October, for 2 reasons. Halloween, which is awesome. But also my fucking birthday. That's what I'm talking about.
yeah.
The
My
greatest.
birthday.
And Adam's birthday. The greatest 2 other national holidays, right?
I guess so.
Oh, Jason, you're just mad.
Mine was 3 months ago, so I
Well,
didn't
happy
give a
belated
shit.
birthday,
Yeah.
Jason.
So we're...
Where were you when I was moving?
Trying to get stuck in the cake.
Oh, shit.
So today, I think we're going to talk all things Halloween for our first show, yeah?
Halloween, horror movies, everything that kind of falls under that genre.
Ghosts?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you'd like.
I like ghosts.
What do you like about ghosts? Please, delve into a little bit...
Why? Here, okay. Let's start it this way. What brings you here to the podcast besides me calling you up and be like, hey, Adam, you want to be on a podcast? What about October and horror and Halloween and the entire genre brings you? What interests you in it? What grabs your attention about it?
I've always been interested in paranormal stuff. It's kind of just been drawn to me. Or I've been drawn to it, I should say.
Yes.
It's been drawn to me. Had some odd experiences when I was younger.
Oh, we'll get into ghost stories later. That's a great topic.
Yeah.
Also, because I haven't seen you since I've moved.
Yeah, same.
I've missed you, Jason.
Me too.
Why
Yeah.
can't Mark be here, too?
Yeah. Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Mark is going to be joining us in the
Periodically,
future
yeah,
on
he'll be
these,
around.
but these are very unstructured. We didn't even really, we're just going to kind of throw them together here and there.
If we pull a topic that Mark likes, he'll be here.
he'll pop
if,
in.
If there's one that Tony doesn't like, he may not be here. And
Yeah.
we're at my house, I may not be here. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, so these are just kind of whatever, but, Mark's definitely in this with us, just not today. So, whatever.
Sadly.
Tony,
Hi.
what draws you into horror and Halloween and everything besides the fact that your birthday falls around the same time?
To me, Halloween is my absolute, along with the 4th of July, but that's for another day, is my favorite holiday. Simply because of the fact it's the last real holiday left. I feel stuff like other holidays like Christmas, it's just, it turns into a business, and it's more about giving each other presents instead of recognizing it that it's Jesus's day of birth and
Even though
stuff
it's
like
not.
and stuff like St. Patrick's or New Year's, as opposed to bringing the New Year's or celebrating the life of a guy who supposedly chased all the snakes out of Ireland or what have you. It just turns into a drunk fest. Halloween is like It was, huh?
Clearly, Tony's not Irish. He doesn't get it.
I was thinking he was talking about snakes on a plane.
I've had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane to Ireland.
What is
That's the sequel.
What is St. Patrick's Day about then?
St. Patrick.
No, I'm just.
Oh, you were saying I'm okay. Anyway, St. Patrick's not the point. What I'm trying to say is those holidays, they're not what they lost their thing. Like Halloween was always about dressing up, being somebody you're not, running around, grabbing candies. A little bit more recent of a tradition, but it's always kind of been around. And
it's always been spooky and.
It was never supposed to be this super all the family comes together, and it's supposed to be a goof around day, and it's always been that way. So it's in my opinion the purest holiday to what it was initially supposed to be. It hasn't lost its way. I mean,
Cool,
I don't know.
cool.
Yeah.
For me, it's a little known fact that I believe Friday the 13th came out in 1983, the first one.
1980.
We're close.
I'm gonna Google it though.
That's fine.
Go ahead.
My mother went and watched the movies and actually enjoyed the movies and liked the name Jason and named me after Jason Voorhees.
So that's badass. I
That
wish
is.
I was named after.
I mean, my middle name is not Voorhees, but she liked the name, so she picked it from the movie.
1980, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, whatever,
No, when were you born? 82?
84.
Same
Now-
as me?
Huh?
I thought you were you.
No. I'm a few months older.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But yeah, so and like some of my earliest childhood memories was going down to the little corner store, video store, and renting horror movies on a Friday night. I'm like, this is before when a kid could rent a rated R movie. I'd sit there with my buddies. My mom would make popcorn and shit like that, and we'd watch horror movies. Actually, up until I got to be like 14, 15 and started like wanting to go out for my birthday, all my friends would come over and we'd literally have like a horror movie marathon for my birthday. Yeah. That's what we'd do.
Now that you actually brought up your mom, it actually made me think of my mom a little. She had a big influence in me getting into Halloween as well, because it was always her favorite holiday. So she kind of pushed it on us a little bit more. It was something that we always celebrated a little bit more than some of the lesser known or just everyday holidays. And she's always been a huge fan, and she let me watch a lot of horror movies when I was like so not age appropriate to watch them. And she was always cool about it. So I saw like a lot of fucked up movies when I was pretty young, just because they were in the horror category.
And boobies.
My mom actually recorded a bunch of them to make sure I watched them.
Boobies?
No, not movies.
That backfired.
No. She recorded like Pumpkinhead and those. And I just remember there being a giant like cabinet next to her television that I used to open up, just full of VHSs that had like horror movies written on the side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Cool. What were you saying? Does anybody, since we're talking about, I don't even know if you guys would remember this because I'm kind of hazy on mine myself. Does anybody remember the first horror movie they ever saw?
I remember one of the first. I don't remember the exact first, but one of the first I saw when I was a kid. It's back when like Channel 9 on Saturday night would show like horror movies and shit like that.
Yeah.
Was The Gate. Okay.
I saw a piece of crap.
Okay, but when you're like 5, when
Back
you're like
then,
5, and the main character in the movie is a young kid.
Yeah.
Okay. If you didn't know, okay, basically there's this little imp demon thing that they catch and put in a bird cage, and he grants wishes. Okay, so they no, he's probably like a foot tall, ugly little fucker too, and they capture him. I don't remember how they found him or anything. I think there was a hole in the basement or some shit, and this little fucker crawled out of it, and they captured him. And the thing was, and I haven't seen the movie in years. But they'd make a wish, and it was like after a couple days, whatever they wished for would actually turn into a pile of shit. Like literally, like they wished for money, and the money turned into shit. Am I accurate with this?
I don't remember it this well.
Okay.
Like, wow, you're really. I just remember it kind of being laughably
and
bad.
then I don't remember if it was the sequel or the first one, but I remember what stands out in my mind. There's a scene where the kid turns his hand over and there's an eyeball like blinking at him in his hand.
Yeah.
And that freaked me the fuck out. And then he actually has to go down into this hole, and there's a bunch of these little fucking things, and they're like stabbing him with pitchforks and shit. And it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm up by myself, and I'm like freaking the fuck out, and like would not go near a hole for like years.
I sadly don't remember a lot of my childhood, but I do remember
Is it 'cause
watching.
you ran into a radiator?
That could probably be it. It was a somersault, not a running in somersault, so more force. But I remember watching Tales of the Crypt, or that one that had the toilet monsters.
Tales of the
Ghoulies.
Crypt, the show, or Tales of the Crypt Demon Night?
I just remember there was a really old
Demon
creepy
Night
skeleton
didn't-
Demon
guy.
Night's a movie.
Yeah, but Demon Knight didn't come for a couple years after
think it was
the
like a
show.
TV show.
I don't know how old Adam is.
I'm 22, 20,
See?
23.
So then it would line up right with
Yeah,
when
but
he
I'm
was
just,
like
you know,
that.
Yeah. But, yeah. Was it called The Goonies?
Ghoulies.
Ghoulies.
Oh.
That was, yeah.
Ghoulies was the little fuckers that came out of the toilet.
That
and
was
then-
also Phantoms, wasn't it? Where they came out of the toilet? That was
Maybe.
that crappy Ben Affleck movie.
Well, it looked like I remember a
bombing
green
Phantoms,
baby
yo.
coming
Yeah.
out of the, I remember a green baby head coming out of the toilet.
Yes, that's
I couldn't-
Ghoulies, and then the one's all hairy and shit, and they spit in the guy's face. I love that movie. Love that movie.
For me, it's got to be one of the big three. It had to either be the original Friday the 13th, the original Halloween, or the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I also remember from when I was really, really young, I used to watch this show with my older sister on Nickelodeon, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I used to love that fucking show. I downloaded some of the torrents for it to rewatch them now. The show did not hold up very
No, neither does Goosebumps.
Yeah, that shit was really good back in the day. It's not very good now.
I think they actually came out with like a movie or a double part episode a couple years ago. Actually.
For Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember
there was
watching
like
it when I was
you
with
know, when
Zach.
Nickelodeon started doing in-house movies that would air on the network, they did an Are You Afraid of the Dark one. I remember that.
It was horrible.
I don't know. I didn't know they revamped
Speaking of TV show, no, it wasn't revamped. I mean, this is probably like 10 years ago that they did it.
No,
Was
it was. I remember watching it like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So I was on the couch.
Fuck you then. Speaking, since you kind of segued into TV shows, there was a couple of predominant horror TV shows from back in the late 80s, early 90s. Did you ever watch any of those?
Like he said, I watched Tales from the Crypt.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what else you're talking about. Maybe if you mentioned a few,
Sure.
I remember.
Well, I mean, there's always the tried and true de facto Twilight Zone, which falls within the genre a bit. Same thing with Alfred Hitchcock Presents. But I'm referring more to the lines of, I know that Amazing Stories got a little weird sometimes, if I remember correctly. But there was a show on Channel 9 called Monsters.
This I do not remember.
No, okay. I want everybody to pause or open up another window, and you can actually YouTube the intro to Monsters. There was that, and then if I can tell a quick tale,
By all means.
when I was young, and I can remember back to probably when I was like 3 or 4, there'd be a specific TV show that would come on late at night, and I could be dead asleep, and just by hearing the intro would wake me up, and I'd start crying. And that was Tales from the Dark Side. Another really, in retrospect, campy Twilight Zone ripoff, but it's got a very odd and very impactful opening. They actually did a Tales from the Dark Side movie, which fucked me up too, because in one part there's a black cat and it crawls down a guy's throat and then busts out through his stomach. It's really, really fucking weird. But yeah, that TV show used to fuck with me. And then there was Svengoolie, if you want to technically count Svengoolie.
I used to watch him.
Svengoolie was the shit.
I actually met his official rubber chicken supplier. The official guy that sold...
I thought you were going to say that you met Steve Cos. It's Steve Cos, I believe it is. The guy
who plays Svengoolie.
Yeah.
No, the guy's actually located out in...
Rich Cos?
He's actually located out in, like, Oak Park. I don't think people outside of Illinois are going to know who Svengoolie is.
Actually,
though, are they?
he's kind of a little bit. Now, in other markets, I do know that there has been Svengoolie type people. I've seen a bunch of them online, and some of them are really bad.
What about the chick with big boobs?
Elvira?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's another one. Elvira, yeah.
Same page, bro.
And then there was always Channel 50 back in the day would show all the reruns of like the Munsters and the Addams Family in the same block.
I always liked
those.
Munsters
Those always fun. Really, I'm more of an Addams Family.
And most people are. That's why that
don't
show
get me
got
wrong.
5 seasons and Munsters only got
2,
1.5, 2.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I like Munsters, but I always had more of appeal to Addams Family.
Because
Rock
you're
on.
related.
What?
'Cause
Zing.
you're related.
Zing. No.
Everyone
Okay.
could relate
What about
to
you?
the Addams Family.
Any other horror type TV shows from your childhood? I don't want to get into current because I'm sure that'll come up.
Well, actually, what I want to do after we're done with TV is kind of the main focus that I wanted to go on is the evolution of the horror flick.
Sure,
by,
sure.
By
Not a
kind of by
problem.
decades.
Yeah.
So
Not a problem.
Go ahead
I'm
and
going to
finish
say
up
your-
they'll
few
obviously
decades.
come up. Huh?
I'm gonna maybe missing a few decades in that conversation. You guys are like what? Twice my age?
What? What?
We're like 4 years old.
Yeah.
You're twice my age.
Engage.
Dude, we all grew up in Power Rangers, okay? So
That's not horror.
no,
Well, if you watch it now, it might be.
it is. Cool. Any like old TV shows that you can remember from a kid that might have influenced you a little bit?
Nope.
No.
I have a horrible memory. I'm lucky I remember what I did last weekend.
You don't remember what you did last weekend,
Oh shit.
or should I say who you did last weekend?
Oh.
You slut.
I can. No, I'm not gonna go there.
Cool. All right. Well, you wanna kick off this this discussion proper?
Well,
Evolution of horror.
I mean, there's some decades in which I'm not completely familiar with. Some of the oldest, I think, I don't know the exact date. I think the oldest horror movie I've sat through was Nosferatu.
Okay. 1930s.
That's
You're
what I
talking
think.
The silent film.
Yeah.
Really quick, on a side note, I don't know if it's official, and my brain is a little fuzzy, and I wish my buddy Dave was here to confirm, but they did a re-release of that set to typo negative songs, which actually, it's kind of like Pink Floyd and The Wizard of Oz. It kind of meshes up really well with it, and it's actually pretty badass.
The Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
I thought you didn't know about that. I was actually going to explain it. You're
Yeah.
just goofing around.
Do you know what he's talking about?
If you
No.
play Pink Floyd's It's the Wall, right? If you
No.
play the entire album, it lines up with Wizard of Oz.
Starting at like the 16-minute mark in the movie, if you start the album, it plays through like a soundtrack. It meshes perfectly with the movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I
At
did
least
not know
some
that.
stoners felt that, and it spread.
Yeah.
It's a rumor, yeah.
It's
Well,
it's
I'm
one
not
of
a
those it's
stoner,
one of
so that would
those
be one.
urban legend viral things.
It's also like how Snow White's the 7 stages of cocaine abuse.
I never heard that.
Yeah,
Snow White, cocaine, Snow White, the 7 dwarves. I can't think like
angry.
sneezy, angry, slutty, hoary,
that's,
angry, whatever the fuck. All of them. Cocaine use, yeah.
So which one's blowjob?
Dopey.
So that's that one, or I've actually watched the original Doctor or Jekyll and Hyde.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, and that one's pretty old as well. Those comparative, like, have you seen anything older?
I've seen Nosferatu. I can't, timeline-wise, I can't place anything because I want to say the ones that I'm more familiar with are
40s.
from the 40s, 50s, the Universal Monsters era.
Well, that's the next generation I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Because then I think there's like a big gap between the Universal Monsters and the 70s and 80s, which I feel were the golden age.
Well, yeah.
'Cause but I want to get into all that later.
Well, well,
My dad liked the Wolfman. I know that.
nice.
Oh yeah, I actually I last night to get ready for this, I actually sat through the Wolfman and the Mummy again,
Nice.
and I haven't seen the Mummy in a really long time.
Yeah.
And now I realized how much the Mummy from '99, 2000, ripped everything off of
Yeah.
the old Mummy.
Yeah, it was like a remake.
I know it was like a
Yeah.
reboot, but not. I didn't think you'd follow a 70-year-old tale
That's
closely.
Why I appreciate that remake with Brendan Fraser so much.
Yeah.
is because they not a lot of people know, but they stuck really close with the source material.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually, it's on Netflix. Go check it out, peeps.
I don't have Netflix.
It's good. Well, I'm sorry. I'm talking to them, but
Yeah, some of us don't have Netflix.
well,
YouTube, I'm sure you can find it on there.
That's illegal.
torrents.
That's even more illegal.
But yeah, I mean, some of those early ones, they're cool to know your movie history, and you can certainly appreciate them. Some of the silent films, but if you're looking to actually get scared, you're probably looking in the wrong.
Yeah, that's
Spot.
not there. No.
Yeah. Then you hop into the 30s, which I actually really, the 30s and 40s, I actually really enjoy. That's where we're hopping into some of these that you're talking about, the Universal monsters.
That's kind of where they start. Yeah.
This is actually where a lot of your modern day villains, the basis of them, what we perceive them to be, are based off characters that played them during this era. Like I know, what's his name, Bela Lugosi. Lon
Chaney.
Yeah, he's the guy that actually played Dracula. And the Dracula you think of, not talking about these modern day vampires, which I want to bitch about in a little bit, but I'm talking the old school, everything up until before Twilight. Where they had a widow's peak.
Face. Yeah.
Nice tuxedos and shit. When you think that vampire,
that's Bela Lugosi.
Yes. Then there's the guy from what were you? Which one?
Lon Chaney.
Who was he?
I don't remember. And again, my horror movie historian is not here at the moment. He knows everyone's name and is like, I believe he's got a tattoo of one of them on his arm and everything like that. He's pretty hardcore. But, I mean, I appreciate the movies. I know Bela Lugosi, he stands out in my head as, like, number one. But I can't really place other names. We'll do a quick...
I know Vincent Price popped out. He was more in the 40s.
Yeah.
And he's more like House on Haunted Hill. He also made the... I can't think. That one that Will Smith remade.
Haunted Mansion? No, that's the
was it the I Am Legend one?
Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of.
Is that a remake though?
Yeah, I Am Legend is a remake.
Oh.
Yeah, then Boris Karloff.
Jesus!
That's what I was thinking of. That's the guy from The Mummy.
Yeah.
Who he was the one who actually.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, just he's your modern day mummy.
And a lot of these guys played different roles within the same, back in the day, Universal kind of owned actors, essentially.
You signed contracts.
Yeah, then Lugosi would be, in one movie he'd be Dracula, and then like Frankenstein and another, and then at some point, and it was probably one of, at least to my knowledge, one of the first times you started to get characters from different movies crossing over into other films.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So then you hop into the Vincent Price era.
Mm-hmm.
That's his first smash hit was, I think, House on Haunted Hill. I think. No, the day
the Earth stood still.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Shit, I'm actually looking up as
We also have to, before we I think from the same era is Hitchcock.
Yeah, he's the other big name at that point.
You ever see the movie Birds,
nope.
Sir? No?
No.
I've
heard of it.
You will never like another fucking pigeon, ever.
I don't like birds as it is.
If
it doesn't have four legs, I don't like it.
Then this movie is for you.
Because Hitchcock didn't get big till Psycho, right? And that was 1960. Real big.
Mm-hmm. And it's pissing me off that I can't think, but when did... I know I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but when did Night of the Living Dead come out?
Which one?
The first one, George Romero, Night of the Living Dead.
Shit, look it up. I don't know. I think that was more like the...
Because it was still black and white.
Mm-hmm. But wasn't it also really gory?
It's this one. It's The Last Man on Earth. That's what I was thinking of.
Was that the one where the guy, at the end, he loses his glasses and then he's like, no, because he likes reading books?
Let's see here.
No, it's the one that Will Smith...
Oh, that's not 1990. That's the remake.
Oh.
Okay, I am jumping ahead. It's 68.
That's Twilight Zone, never mind.
That's what I was thinking.
68.
Yeah.
That's the Twilight Zone.
So, but yeah, then you hop into the Hitchcocks. Those were late 40s. I think he really took off in the 50s and 60s,
Yeah.
though. But like you said, there was Birds. Psycho's my favorite movie he's ever made. It's actually one of my all-time favorite horror flicks, but just because of the psychotic nature of the character, not because it's super scary. I mean, really, he kills one person in the whole movie, and it's just like all you see is her neck and head,
Yeah.
and then that world-famous music, and then this doesn't 24. Go ahead.
All right.
So
Get a pen.
yeah.
Yeah, right here, mirror.
Right
Hey,
now.
give me a napkin.
He's a napkin, sir.
Right at 24. Don't mind us. Okay, those numbers mean nothing to you.
Numbers.
So yeah. Then where do we leave off? 50s, 60s?
We were at the 50s, 60s, and that's when you start getting... Well, see, there is a little bit of a gap there where horror kind of goes away. It kind of turns into that sci-fi weird shit of the 70s.
What happened? I actually know the reason behind all this. I know exactly what you're talking about. The World Wars separated everybody, and once the Allies had, succeeded in World War II, the next big threat was the Russians and the race to space, and that got people's minds going. Actually, comic books had a lot to do with it as well. And the next big thing was outer space. That was the next thing that man had to take on in these movies. I'm not a huge fan of that era in particular, which is why I kind of skipped over it.
Yeah.
I don't like all that crap. Not because I have anything wrong with aliens, just that the way those movies were, I don't find entertaining.
We have to reel it back for 1 second. There's at least to me, a very important piece of cinema from 1954 that now in this day and age you don't see as a quote-unquote horror movie, but in that time it was considered one and actually scared the shit out of a lot of people, and that's the original Godzilla.
Oh, I was thinking of
Godzilla!
I'm talking the original black and white.
Oh, yeah.
Fucked with people a lot.
You're a huge fan of Godzilla.
I am. I won't delve into the other ones. As far as the Universal monsters and everything, Japan's like, we have to go bigger. We have to beat King Kong.
King Kong. That was 50s, right?
Yeah.
Is that a horror film?
Yeah, I mean, giant ape coming through, terrorizing the world, smashing down buildings, climbing
not
up.
believable.
Yeah, and I mean,
Huh?
It's not believable.
Sure it is.
I could believe zombies. I could believe psycho killer. I can't believe giant ape climbing up the Empire State Building.
Holding a chick, falling in love with her.
Well, holding a chick or not crushing her.
Because he was in love with her.
But yeah, Godzilla.
He wanted to get all up in there.
I crush things I love.
Godzilla has a lot to do with post World War II nuclear fallout.
Yeah.
That was kind of still prevalent in
Lingering
people's
over the
minds
Japanese
and everything
side.
like that. And that's where that came from, was kind of like the after effects of what would happen and everything. So that's where Godzilla kind of fits into that. And then Godzilla gets weird, just like everything in Japan.
What do you mean Godzilla gets weird? I cried during Godzilla 2000.
Why?
Because they killed her.
Killed who?
Godzilla.
Godzilla didn't kill anybody in Godzilla 2000.
No, they killed Godzilla.
No, they didn't.
No, but there's an egg at the end that was about to hatch. I could have sworn they
You're
killed him.
talking about the shitty Matthew Broderick one?
Probably. The one that
That
looked
is
like
not Godzilla 2000.
Oh.
Okay, that was 98 when Puff Daddy did a fucking horrible Led Zeppelin song, and the fucking Taco Bell Chihuahua was like, I'm gonna need a bigger box. No, that movie doesn't count, okay?
What was it called then?
It was Godzilla, okay, but Toho actually doesn't recognize the creature that you saw in that movie as Godzilla.
I think it looked like a T-Rex.
They put it in the final Godzilla movie known as Zilla, and it died in 30 seconds up against the real Godzilla. And rant.
I still cried.
Garbage.
So a fake Godzilla died?
Yeah.
It looked like a T-Rex.
Yeah.
A giant
You
T-Rex.
never saw the U.S. Godzilla movie with Matthew Broderick and the guy from The Perfection? What was that? Was it the French fucker?
Oh, that one.
That
the
guy.
fucker who's French.
He was Onimusha 3 too.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know his name though. I'm horrible with names.
He fools around with a little girl. He's a fucking contract killer in a movie. I can't think of his name. Rougeau. That's his French name.
Name another movie he's been in, perhaps?
There he is. Jean Reno.
That didn't even sound
That's
French.
not even remotely
Shut up.
French.
See, I was thinking The Professional.
Oh, that dude.
That dude.
I know
He's in
him.
fucking- he's in the
everything.
Yeah, like the shitty 1998 Godzilla movie. God damn, am I good? Look at, I knew that date without looking it up.
He's in Ronin.
Fuck Ronin.
Fuck
not a
Ronin.
horror movie.
One of the greatest action movies of all time. Go watch them shits.
It's not a horror movie.
Japanese horror films are interesting.
We'll get to those. There are some. That's more
What,
of the.
what genre does that fall under?
That's 90s 2000s. You're talking The Ring. You're talking that fucking crappy blonde chick who played Buffy. What the hell's her real name? Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah.
What about,
What's
like,
that
the
dumb movie she
original
made?
Japanese movies?
She did. The Grudge.
The Grudge. Oh my God.
We're jumping
No,
ahead.
Oh yeah, we're
We're
gonna wait
jumping
too
ahead.
ahead. We'll get
Okay,
it.
so
no,
let's-
but no. Don't, see that it's a decade before that because those are Ring 2. Those are Japanese movies from the 80s and 90s
That were
were
remade.
later remade in America.
I like the Japanese ones better. I couldn't understand it, but they were still good.
And then you have their shock cinema now, which we'll maybe you can touch base on, but we'll
Where
reel it back.
are we at now? Because we're real 60s, 70s.
We touch base because the 60s and 70s gets a little weird into the horror kind of melds into sci-fi a bit.
And
then
then
it comes
75, 76. You have the birth of
Yeah.
the slasher flick.
Go for it.
This is my all-time favorite. Like this is what got me into horror movies. This is
This is where this is the point that I was looking forward to, and in the same dreading, because we have very drastic different opinions on the king of the slasher. But we'll get into it a
Can
little
I
bit.
just say one thing
By
about
all
slasher
means.
flicks that I do not like?
Go
Is
for
the
it.
fact that the people are running and then the killer is just walking and then just shows up out of nowhere. It drives me up a wall.
yeah, he's slapping the table a lot.
It drives me up.
Well, there's actually a method behind the madness, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
We're gonna that's our meat and potatoes. I feel
Oh, there's food?
of this conversation is going to be
The slasher flick? Should we
yeah.
should we skip over the 70s and 80s?
Well,
Is that
I
what you're
mean,
saying?
slashers do start in the 70s and 80s, so I mean that we'll go through.
See,
the birth.
I feel personally that the horror movie is on a severe decline since maybe 98, 99.
Okay, yeah. Reel it back. We're jumping ahead. I'm gonna try
We need
again.
a time machine.
Again, this is very random. We're just shooting thoughts out there, but I'm gonna try to keep us a little bit
On point?
Because you brought up a good point. Let's go through the evolution. So now we're in 75, 76. What are you talking about?
Well,
Birth of the slasher.
The slasher actually came out a little bit before that, but none of them made money. I don't even know the titles, to be honest with you. There was one or two in the extreme late 60s. They were poorly done. A couple in the 70s. Those were the ones that are credited with starting the slasher revolution, okay? What happened was there was actually, everybody was trying to get on this bandwagon post, I think the big one that brought it to mainstream, I would have to say, is probably Halloween. That was 78, I want
Okay.
to say.
Okay.
That was the one that really brought everybody in and showed them that they wanted a part of this genre. What stemmed from that movie, from John Carpenter's flick, was the mad rush, where every studio was literally running out trying to create their version of Michael Myers. Okay? A lot of them did a very poor job. A lot of them did a great job. But this is where everything came from, I feel.
I think in the baseline silent killer slasher, for me, there's only two that stand out.
Jason and Freddy. Or Jason and Michael.
Jason
sorry.
and Michael Myers. I personally put Freddy in a different category because Freddy...
He's the first psychological killer.
Exactly. He's very physical, but he's also psychological. And here's the part that I was going to try to avoid a little bit. Obviously, I'm biased for particular reasons. Okay. I can appreciate Halloween and the Halloween films, but in the order that I saw them, I saw Friday the 13th first.
Okay.
I know that they are the kind of riding the coattails and following the mainstream. I also feel, and I'm not gonna count the 12 sequels.
Of what, Jason? Or
Yeah.
It's 11.
They're at 11 now.
Well, Jason X was in space, and then they made Jason vs. Freddy.
And then
That's
I
11.
think they're counting the remake too. I walked.
Oh, if you're
Yeah.
counting the reboot franchise, yeah, then
I-
okay, 12, yeah.
I think they took that core idea of what you saw in Halloween, and for me, improved on it.
Yeah. Well, Sean Cunningham, that's the guy who made the Friday the 13th. I think he did an excellent job as well. In fact, if you aside from Friday the 13th as well as Nightmare on Elm Street, those two did. I know what you were saying; they were riding the coattails. That's not what I meant by saying Halloween started it.
Sure. No,
but
I know what you
they
mean.
were the creations to try to counteract against Michael Myers. But I feel that those are the ones that did so well on their own. They snowballed and evolved into their own things. Where if you grew up a little later, born in the 90s or the 2000s, and you don't really care,
Looking at you, Adam.
and you don't really care that one came out 2 years before the others or whatever, and you don't, then you could. I can see how it's easily missable.
Sure.
The ones I'm talking about are the ones that only had one or two and kind of died off quickly because they didn't pick up that same steam because they didn't do very well.
Sure.
And if you go back to the 80s, were very notorious for this. There's a ton of. It's actually where the B horror movie flicks stem
And that's
from.
where I want you to stop right there, pause, okay? Because before we get fully into the 80s, I must point out a independent film that was made in, I believe, 1978.
Okay.
I'm gonna clarify the date because I want to be very particular about this, and you'll have to excuse me because I don't recall exactly the exact.
Everybody can't expect us to remember every
I
single
should
date
know
from
this
the
one.
entire history of horror
Okay,
flicks.
I know it was filmed in '79. It didn't actually release until '81, and it was very, very prevalent for me in the future, obviously. But I'm talking about The Evil Dead.
Yes.
Okay, it took everything that the slasher films were doing and turned them on its side. And what I mean by that is, in slasher flicks, it's usually a young chick who they make very appealing and very likable and very friendly, and you're kind of rooting for her to survive. That's the idea behind them.
She's called the Survivor Girl.
Obviously, that's changed. But in The Evil Dead, if you haven't seen it, okay, they take this nerd and later on a very arrogant asshole and put him through the paces of being the Survivor Girl. Okay, he shows up to a cabin in the woods. All his friends get killed. They get turned on against him into deadites, essentially half demon, half zombies. There's it's very prominent, so I'm going to mention it. There is a very odd rape scene in the movie in which the forest itself rapes a woman. Adam gives me a weird look.
It's weird.
It is.
I know what he's
It is.
talking
It's a whole new meaning to wood.
It's true. And the reason that I bring up The Evil Dead and want to touch base on it, because it's one of my favorite series, but also along with taking and turning the horror genre kind of on the side a little bit and doing things a little differently, it's also, in my mind, and a lot of other directors credit this, is it is one of the forefathers to independent film. Because it was literally like three guys went out, busted their ass, funded the movie themselves, made a short film before, which not a lot of people know of. I have a copy of it called Into the Woods, okay, and then built up the funding and made a movie and then turned around and sold it. And there's another prevalent name that we're forgetting. It's De Laurentiis. He was a father figure and a pioneer for a lot of these horror movies and obscure movies that fall within the same genre to kind of come through and get them funding and get them out there and get them bought.
Yeah.
But since we were talking about Jason and Freddy and Michael Myers, I wanted to throw that name in there because it'll come back again.
Well, see, at the time, I feel that the slasher flicks were the stem off, because if you look at the time, there was still the mainstream, what everything was up until that point.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
you started having like the Amityville Horrors, and you started having The
Exorcist.
Exorcist. Those were still mainstream horror. That's what horror was from the beginning of time up until then. The true slasher flick is more about gore and
kill
jump moments, like a specific, moment that gets you to like freak out or whatever,
Oh my God.
and kill counts.
How did we forget? And I apologize, but we forgot another very important piece there from back in 50s, 60s. Is again, it kind of leans into that sci-fi a little bit, but the Blob.
Oh yeah, I'm not a.
But
it's a big movie.
We
Yeah,
still have to give credit where credit's due.
yes.
Because I was thinking, you triggered that thought because with The Exorcist and things like that, it's in slasher it's man versus man, but in different genre like The Exorcist,
It's man versus form of man.
Form of man,
Slasher.
But then it's like man versus paranormal
Beast.
exactly.
Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomato, yeah, Attack of the Tomatoes.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which was also an awesome fucking
What about
cartoon.
the one with a giant brain?
The
black
pod,
and white.
the pod people, the body snatchers.
Well,
Yeah, there's
the original, like a lot of the 2000. When we get to that, a lot of the 2000s are remakes of this era.
Yeah.
Even like The Hills Have Eyes and shit like that came out recently.
Yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's
We're
another-
almost
yeah.
there. That's
Yeah,
that's 70s too, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's very late 70s.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, did that come out before Halloween?
I don't know. Time to. IMDb is our friend tonight, folks. So give us a few minutes.
Now you got me questioning it, but I really do. I think it was the 80s, but it took place in the 70s. Is what I think is the thing with Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, when was Halloween?
78, 77.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is 74.
Okay then.
Leatherface is the. But see now, to be fair, Leatherface was in the first one. I don't remember if he was in the second one, and then they got weird.
All of the Texas Chainsaw Massacres are weird.
But they got really weird.
Yeah.
They got really weird. Like the one Halloween movie that had nothing to do with Michael Myers.
Number 3, The Season of the Witch.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing with Halloween. That's a good movie on its own.
Yeah, but
it just wasn't a good Michael Myers because Michael Myers wasn't in it. But the thing with that is if you look at the story as a whole, it's supposed to take place on Halloween night. It's not exclusively Michael Myers movies, but the amount of complaints and backlash that they got from making 3 made them never make a Halloween movie without Michael Myers again.
Well, it's the same way the first Friday the 13th. Jason Voorhees was not the killer in it.
It was his mom.
It was his mom.
That reminds me of when we were talking about TV shows.
Go for it.
Friday the 13th, the TV
That
show.
was a TV show.
Oh my
just hit me.
god, that
Wow.
fucking was. That shit was terrible.
Womp womp. Yeah.
Well, the cool thing with Jason is, well, he evolved. The first 3 movies, he's 3 different characters, and a different guy plays Jason in every movie.
I don't
The
want to
first-
bring. I don't want to bring up who played Jason in the first one, and I'm doing that out of respect for my friend. So the kid who jumped out of the water shall not be named, because we actually we've had interactions and encounters with him. He's got a band and everything like that. He's a real scumbag piece of shit. So
With the guy who played him? Mm-hmm. I don't know his fucking name. How was I going to bring him up?
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Okay. He's.
I think you're giving him more credit now because people are going to Google who the fuck he is.
I'm going to fast forward because this is pretty fucking entertaining. Was it 2 years ago they released My Name is Jason, a documentary and a history on the evolution of the Friday the 13th series. And it's got a lot of big names in there, right? This guy's in it for 30 seconds.
Yeah, just jumping into the water.
No, but I mean, in the documentary as itself, he's in it for 30 seconds.
Oh.
Like, they got Tom Savini, which is a huge name in special effects and horror movies, and he hosts this thing. He has nothing to do with Friday the 13th, and the guy who actually played Jason is in it for 30 seconds. Take that, you piece of shit.
Yes. I don't know what he's
So
so
much
mad about.
resentment and
But
hate.
all I was trying to say was for the first 3 episodes, the form of Jason that you're familiar with actually didn't arrive until Friday the 13th Part 3, which was one of the first, if not the first, attempts to make a horror flick in 3D.
Yes.
Because the first one...
well, wait, does Jaws count? That was Jaws. Jaws is technically kind of a horror movie.
It's more like a suspense movie. Aren't there
I
different-
count the original Jaws as a horror movie.
Is there a difference between suspense and horror?
as the almighty Kevin Smith would say, is Jaws kept hundreds of thousands of people out of the water the year that movie came out. To me, if you can affect people on that level, that's a fucking horror movie.
Okay. Fine then.
Shut up.
I don't know. I wasn't really thinking Jaws, but fine. But anyway, the whole point I've been trying to make for like 5 fucking minutes.
3D.
Three different Jasons. Okay, second one he's got the fucking pillowcase on his head. Third one is where he got the hockey mask. That's all I've been trying to say for like 5 minutes.
It's a burlap sack. It's a pillowcase.
It's a fucking pillowcase.
Like in Resident Evil?
That's where actually Resident Evil.
That's where they stole it from.
They stole it from.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I just thought it was. Oh.
Okay, so that's all I was trying. Anyway, so I want to go back to what you were saying with the woman.
Yes.
That you were talking about like 10 minutes ago.
The Survivor.
The Survivor girl. That was another thing that the slasher flick brought into the modern era.
Yeah.
They took the girl. They even kind of make fun of it a little bit in the original Scream, that she's typically a virgin, typically kind of a geek.
They give the rules, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the one that will survive. What? Why are you looking at me puzzled?
I'm always puzzled.
I do have a question for you, because for me, I count it as like kind of suspense horror. There's The Thing.
Yes.
And then the movie The Thing.
Oh, there's a movie called The Thing? Like the game?
There's
Anyways,
a movie, horror movie, The Thing. Yes.
Adam will chime in a little bit more when we get caught up to speed to
You've clearly only seen like the last 15 years of horror, right?
Probably.
So okay, good.
He's a more Flash and
Flash.
big Flash thing. But where would you rank the original Alien from '79?
Not as a horror movie. See that's again.
Just a thought.
Now that I'm thinking of it, okay, that again is that mainstream horror where it doesn't really have. And as much as I appreciate those, I do like them. I always tend to side with the slasher flicks more, which I do feel branched off. Aliens again is not. It's a species.
Alien. I'm talking
the first one.
The first one.
Yeah, with Jodie Foster, right?
Sigourney Weaver.
You sure?
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver. Yeah.
How does Jodie Foster?
Sigourney Weaver.
Okay, whatever. Is your phone dead again?
Oh no, I was just using it to look up something.
That's right. Nice.
Because she's in the second one, which I wanted to talk to you and see what you because the second one took it to a little bit more action. That's why I wanted to find out where you fell for the first one.
I guess movies where at some point there's clearly a line. I mean, your rule can't be humans are dying because then fucking Letters to Iwo Jima is a horror movie, and it's not. It's a fucking war movie. You know what I mean? So it's not just people dying. There has to be that. What's the breaking point? And unfortunately, it's a gray area. It's not black and white. And Aliens, I think, is in that area.
Okay.
So where I think Jaws is too. Where a lot of people could be like, yes, this is a horror flick.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you have your traditional horror. You have your kind of gray area, and then I would, like you said, I would count slasher into its own category, and then you have new horror, which is thrills for kills a la Saw and shit like that, where we'll get to a little bit later.
Yeah, in a little bit. We're getting all those.
What about the handicaps? What are those called?
The handicaps?
What was that?
Like the
Paranormal
Activity movies?
Blair Witch Project and shit.
Those are going to be
We're coming.
What does that fall under?
Those are coming. Those are 90s.
I know, but what does that fall under?
I would count that into new horror, new style horror.
Yeah. Okay, we should. I do want to probably revisit slashers. Maybe later today, maybe on the next time we do this. It's fine. We should move on.
Sorry to all those Freddy Krueger fans. We'll get to him. He deserves a little bit more time.
I think all three of those are amazing. I'd love to give because I call them the big three. They're the three that really brought horror into the mainstream post. The guys from the 30s.
For you video game fans that are listening in and have no idea what's going on because you may not be into horror movies, the big three, imagine Sony, Nintendo, and Xbox. That's what these guys are.
Yeah, as opposed to the little guys that have come and gone, like your fucking, I don't know, Atari Lynx or your fucking whatever.
Yeah. So now we're into 90s horror movies, and that's when, to my knowledge, you started seeing some remakes coming up. They remade Night of the Living Dead. in the 90s with the fucking Candyman guy in it and shit like that.
This was also a confusing time for horror because in the 80s, it was before a lot of the special effects were developed. So you had to have clever ways to make kills. It was more about the creepiness factor than the actual gutting and watching body parts fly out of bodies.
Like you were talking about before, ghoulies, they're essentially fucking puppets.
Yeah.
You know,
but what
toilet monster.
What started happening then is this was when special effects grew, was this period in the 80s and 90s, where half of the movies are really terribly done, where it's just clear as day that it's a puppet bleeding or that it's
I've got a prime example that I can use for you. Two movies that released in the same year, completely different ends of the spectrum. Both really good movies. You had Army of Darkness, which is a follow-up to Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, 93. You also had Terminator 2. Mm-hmm. Okay. One's a Universal. I don't remember who released Terminator. But you had one that was low budget that still used the animatronics and things like that and puppets and fucking things flying through the screen on hooks and shit like that. And then 93 was the turn of CGI and digital and fancy graphics and new techniques of how to make horror and things like that.
Well, what happened in the 80s was you took a lot of really established guys. This is where you got all those Friday the 13th and Halloweens and shit coming out every couple years because they were established franchises that they knew would sell no matter what they put. And unfortunately, a couple of those in the middle of the runs suffered
greatly
because of how poor it was more about just kill count. It was like, can I slash 50 guys to death in this episode, as opposed to worrying about how everything looked. Instead of making 3 or 4 really elaborate, good-looking murders, it was just a shitload of terrible-looking ones that just got you to look away from the screen.
Jason takes Manhattan. He's boxing a guy on the roof and uppercuts his head off.
Yeah. Well, what's the movie where when the making of it, they show you that they actually had the room spin upside down, and I think Johnny Depp gets sucked into a bed.
Friday the 13th, the original one.
Oh. No, what he's talking about.
No, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street has
not
Johnny
Friday
Depp being sucked into the
and then
that's what I meant. I'm
going
sorry.
through the
Evil Dead 2 also did where they tilted the entire set for the blood flood, is what they call it.
Well,
a 55-gallon drum of fake blood.
Yeah, not to go back to it, but the original 3, they all, because back in the day, to get your movie career off the ground, you had to do horror. It was like a punishment, like a right of way. Mm-hmm. And the first Friday the 13th stemmed Kevin Bacon.
Yep.
The first Nightmare on Elm Street stemmed Johnny Depp. Mm-hmm. And the first Halloween stemmed the career of, what the fuck's her name?
The bitch who sells yogurt now.
Jamie Lee Curtis. She sells yogurt?
Yeah. Fucking Activity yogurt. That shit that... Oh! Yeah, that's her, dude.
And she's also...
She's like, I'm regular now. That's serious. Whatever. I couldn't make that up.
So, but she's also one of the original... She's probably the Scream Queen original.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring up that and now you have this reversal where big movie stars are trying to get into horror flicks. It like completely did a 180 from the fucking 70s and 80s.
Well, I think the big one for me that kind of started that, where you started seeing more mainstream people in horror, was late 90s. What was Scream, 96?
She's the one that started it, but we'll get but we're in the 90s now, right?
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is you had like Henry Winkler and half the cast from 90210 appearing in it. You know,
they got Courtney Cox and David Arquette for that. Then you started having The Grudge got Sarah Michelle Gellar. Mm-hmm. You had more recently
Jessica Biel was in a horror movie.
I was gonna say the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, she's done a couple of horror movies now.
You had that one guy who I can't think of his name right now. He's kind of a big deal, sort of. He came back.
Ryan Reynolds did Amityville Horror remake.
The skinny guy from Accepted.
Jeepers Creepers, dude?
That's what I was going to talk about. Jeepers Creepers. I can't think of his real name. Justin Long. That's it. He came back to do Jeepers. So you got this resurgence where like now they're like, oh, we have an established movie career. I want to go do horror. Where 20 years ago it was like man, I want a movie career. I better do horror to get into the...
Horror was the bastard of the film industry.
Yeah, it's how you got into the scene. It's like, it's how you got credibility, because real movie stars didn't want to, like, ruin their reputation with doing horror flicks. So you got to start out doing that. It was like, yeah, it's crazy. It's craziness.
I think we'll save it for another podcast, but I also want to talk about the trends in horror, how a couple years ago it was all vampires, now it's zombies and shit like that. So I want to keep that. The only reason I even brought it up is A, to tease it a little bit, and B, so that we can remind ourselves.
Yes.
But yeah, 90s.
And this is where I felt that that crap stopped, because the 80s were... Late 80s were a really bad time, even early 90s, where they were still trying to figure everything out, like we were just saying with the CGI. And there was like a 5 or 6 year period where nothing good came out, horror movie wise.
Jason Goes to Hell.
Shit like that. Jason X. There was just garbage.
Jason X was
a little later.
late, yeah.
But
see now,
even
I want to talk about Jason X, so we'll get to there. But go ahead and
even the Nightmare on Elm Streets. The only one I feel that really didn't suffer throughout its career was Michael Myers.
Yeah.
His movies didn't get too bad. But then you had this spot in the early 90s. Everything was terrible until Scream came out.
Yes.
Scream was the first legitimate horror movie to come out in like a fucking decade.
Yeah.
What about the Carrie?
That was the 70s? 80s?
I
80s.
have my times really.
That was 80s, yeah. No, Carrie was good. I'm glad you brought that up. I totally forgot about her.
I always think of Carrie, but every time I think of Carrie, I also got to think of Christine. The fucking Stephen
Christine
King
was
book,
awesome.
The car. Do you ever see that where the car's fucking murdering people?
Yeah.
That was bad.
It's actually really good, yeah.
It was a Stephen King book.
I don't
You
read.
also have Pet Cemetery.
It turns, It. We forgot all about It, too.
It, Pet Cemetery.
Yeah. No, Christine was crazy. It was this car that just got wrecked, and there's these two high school buddies. One's the popular kid, one's like the nerd that he kind of likes to hang out with him. So the nerd finds this car, and he buys it, and he brings it back to the garage, and as he's working on it, it's like changing him.
It's like, yeah, and the car's kind of healing itself when he's sleeping.
He's like
and
fixing it, and as he's restoring this car and bringing it back to life, it makes this kid go crazy. Then the car starts killing everyone.
So it's like a car version of Little Shop of Horrors?
I don't know. Little Shop of Horrors was weird.
Seymour?
I love Little Shop of
It's
Horrors.
a weird fucking movie.
I'm
dude.
going backwards. Time you guys are going for. I'm just remembering these things.
That's fine.
Speaking of It, though, does that mean the guy that played? I'm horrible with names. Who's the guy that played It?
Who, the actual clown or the guy who made it?
The guy that played him. It.
The clown.
Yeah. Who was he?
Oh, fucking
Because he's one of the. He's a famous actor now. I thought. Because he's in Clue. Wasn't it? Was it Michael Myers? No.
I don't know.
No.
I'm trying to Google that shit right now. Keep going.
I've got a couple of. Wait, don't punch it.
It's not working.
Would you like my fancy
Do you
iPhone
hit things
5?
that don't
There's no
work?
internet.
It hates you. Why are you on internet? Why not use 3G?
Because I'm on Sprint. It has no internet.
It.
I
Let's see.
not the
Curry.
Matrix.
Jim Curry.
Thomas.
Wasn't it Jim Curry?
Tim Curry is not in it.
You sure?
Dude, John Ritter was in it?
You sure? I could have sworn Tim Curry was
Oh
in
shit, he is.
it. Who?
It is Tim Curry.
I knew it.
It is fucking Tim Curry.
I'm looking at it right now.
Is that how his career started then?
We all float.
Very well could have been.
We all float. No. Tim Curry's been doing well because
when did Clue come out?
Well, wait. Clue was 90s.
I love Clue.
Yeah. See, look at all right. It was
1990.
It was 90. He did Rocky Horror in 75.
I loved Rocky Horror
I wonder why.
because it was a musical.
That says a lot. Show tunes.
That's racist
Sure is.
or sexist. I don't know what that'd be considered.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, but I totally agree. Scream kind of was a resurgence. It did a really good job of meshing slasher with the intelligence that you saw in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, it was Wes Craven. He brought that
Yeah.
shit back, man.
Yeah.
I feel like Scream was more of a joke movie than an actual horror
And see, I wanted
movie.
to talk about that. There's a couple of joke genre horror movies that kind of fall in those lines, and I
Army
do
of Darkness?
apologize. Well, the Army of Darkness got weird. Yeah, that's a little bit. But I'm talking about Beetlejuice can be considered to an extent in the horror. That's the vibe that they were going with, but it was a comedy still. You get what I'm saying? You know.
Yeah, they're like the sidetrack movies that used.
They were influenced by horror.
Yeah, but they're clearly not horror movies. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Another really good one that I go to, and I can't believe that I forgot to give Peter Jackson credit where credit was due. He started off with really obscure movies and horror movies and things like that. Oh,
because he makes totally mainstream shit now.
Lord of the Rings?
It's not. That's not totally out there.
Lord of the Rings isn't horror.
No.
We're talking about
him
and Avatar and shit. Oh no, that's Cameron, right?
That's James Cameron.
No, but like fucking Lord of the Rings, that shit's like totally out there.
Okay, but you know what I mean.
Elves and fucking.
Well, he didn't write it.
I'm just saying that's what he does. He makes weird. Yeah, they hit. They make a lot of money.
He did a movie in the '90s which I really really enjoy. It plays into the horror genre, but more of the comedy angle. And it doesn't get a lot of credit. It's Frighteners with Michael J. Fox.
I haven't seen that.
Really?
I think I've heard of it.
Frighteners, really quick. Michael J. Fox is a paranormal investigator, and he's got 3 ghost buddies that live with him. So it's a scam. He sends the ghosts to the house to fuck up shit and everything. Well, it turns out that death is marking people on their foreheads with different numbers to get his kill count up. You find out, spoilers for a fucking 15-year-old movie, Death was this killer.
Yeah.
I think I remember that movie now.
Okay, just checking out.
Yeah, but Death was this killer. It's pretty good. I've got it. I can let you
borrow
it.
Fucking
So now we're into mid to late 90s. Mid to late 90s.
Now you started having, because Wes Craven brought this back, it was the clever horror movie again, where you actually had to think a little. It was like the killers were doing different things. They started fucking with people. Because then you had the direct competition to Scream at the time, came out a year later. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I hated that movie.
Really? That shit was awesome, dude.
I Know What You Did
That shit was awesome.
I hated it.
Love that fucking movie.
Because I liked Scream so much.
Yeah.
That's why I hated it.
That's what it was. It was brought in for direct competition. It was wrote 1 year later. And it's like the genius started coming back where they were messing with you. And it was about more kids that I could relate to because now I was growing up.
Yeah.
And it was, as much as I loved the old Jasons and the old Freddys and the old Mike Myers and stuff, it's harder to relate to 70s teens.
It was a little bit more pop.
When I was a kid. Because I didn't know what the fuck the 70s were like. I was growing up in the 90s. So 90s teens were only a few years older than me. So watching Scream was like, I could relate to these kids. The way they dressed, the music they were listening to.
So what you're saying is in the 70s they had Bush, and in the 90s they had some trim shit going on. So you don't know nothing about that, Adam. Don't worry.
I thought you were talking about the president for a second. When you said Bush. I was like, I don't think Bush was president.
Oh, jeez. Go ahead. I had to get that Bush comment in there, and then he's quoting on a guitar.
I don't remember what it was.
No, but definitely they were more modern, more our time, more poppy, kind of. Hip and trendy. I hate to use those terms.
So those stemmed out a couple of. They started their own. They never quite got to the 9s and 10s, but I Know What You Did Last Summer had 3. Scream came out with the 4th just last year or the other. Whatever.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed it.
I did not.
No.
Scream was the first one was amazing. The second one was okay. Scream 3 was atrocious, as was Scream 4.
See, I'm gonna keep going back because movies pop up into my head.
Yeah, you remember stuff.
And then I want to ask your opinion about it, Adam. This one you might chime in on. We're forgetting a couple. Lost Boys. Where do you fall with Lost Boys?
Probably one of the better vampire movies ever made. To me, I did want to talk about vampires, but we're not there yet. Okay, here's what we're going to do. When we hit modern era, I want to talk about vampires, but I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning of the belt. I'm going to start back at Lugosi and come all the way full circle. Because I want to talk about Interview with the Vampire. I want to talk about everything.
Okay, so we'll get caught up to the 90s or the 2000s. We've covered the turn of the century with the 90s, 2000 horror movies.
Now we start running into the new IPs, even late 90s.
Yeah, you start getting your Blair Witch Project.
That was 99, I think.
Yeah.
Then you start running into the Grudges, the Rings. This is when a lot of the 80s Japanese
horror
flicks
films
were starting to be remade in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
This was the next demise to me of the horror movie.
Yeah. I can't stand.
I want you to speak your piece because I know you liked a bunch of these. For me, I personally, after probably Scream 2, and I think I liked the second I Know What You Did Last Summer, I didn't like a horror movie. I watched them all because I love horror movies. I give them all a chance because
and even bad ones are tolerable.
Yeah, and I want to fucking enjoy them.
Leprechaun.
And I go there, and it's like Chucky. We forgot about Chucky. But I go there, and I go to all these. Most of them I saw them at the theater during this time because I went out and I wanted to enjoy these flicks.
Yeah,
but to me,
you took a chick to see a horror movie for us. You know?
Nothing good came up until fucking.
I didn't mean it that way, Adam.
What do you mean by that?
Because I was saying they were horror.
They were a date movie, so
exactly.
you get the girl to cuddle with you, to hold your hand.
Exactly. That's
get to the bottom of the popcorn bucket.
I said chick, and Adam kind of made a weird face, and that's not what I was implying. So I apologize.
Others can go to the movie too, you know.
Yes. You summed it up. Date movie. But yeah, no, I totally. All right, let's go ahead and segue it in. Grudge, Ring, things like that. More online for you. More modern. We were 90s. Yeah, we were late 80s, 90s horror movies. Grudge, Ring, things like that would fall.
To me, a lot of them were really bad. There was a couple of gems in there. I actually really enjoyed Jeepers Creepers. Ugh. That was early. You didn't like that?
Ugh.
I only like Jeepers Creepers because it had Justin.
By the end of that fucking movie, I hated that song.
Oh yeah, because it plays all the time. I liked that. I liked. There's a very few sprinkled in there. I actually really enjoyed. I don't want to get into the close to 2010 yet,
yeah. Okay.
But early 2000s, I'm struggling because the ones that are popping in my head that I did enjoy came up like 5 years later, like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
I enjoyed a few.
So for you,
I have a horrible memory.
Okay. Do you remember The Grudge? Or the
I
Ring,
do remember The Grudge. I remember The Ring.
Terrible.
I liked The Grudge. I did like The Grudge because it was ghost.
There was nothing except a little girl that screamed like a cat.
I thought that
That's it.
I thought that was a boy.
Maybe it was a boy.
It was a boy. I think
You
it
can't
was a boy
tell.
that
It was severely underdressed. Either way.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, whatever the fuck it was. That was the highlight, and that one thing crawling on the ceiling. What a piece of shit. What a piece of shit. Sorry, go ahead.
I felt they had more of like a meaning to behind them, other than just to kill people. It was kind of like
They had a little bit more plot.
A story.
no, like a what's that word you use when you have a point to a story?
Plot.
No.
Pretty
you
sure
tell
we're
a
looking
story
for
for a specific reason.
Plot.
No. a
They had a little bit more history into them. They tried to build a little bit more character.
Well, they did that. They did that with the.
there's a word for it.
You keep puzzling on that. They came up with the fog a little after that. That was similar to. No, it wasn't a good movie, but they tried to bring in like New England historical facts into why. There's a moral.
A moral behind them. That's what it was.
Yeah, I hate when horror movies try to teach me a lesson.
Why?
Because it's stupid. I'm not watching it to learn a lesson.
You're
I'm watching it to see people die.
But it scares you, and that's how you learn a lesson.
No.
You get scared.
No, you know what I learned? I learned nothing in horror movies.
You know what I
except
learned from
don't
The
run
Grudge?
upstairs. What'd you learn from The Grudge?
That cheating gets you nowhere.
Yeah.
Except a house full of evil.
I tend to disagree with that. I think every horror movie teaches you something. To an extent, didn't you? Weren't you the one who just brought up? Weren't you the one who just brought up that Jaws kept?
No, I get that, but I'm saying I don't want it to like the backstory is to try to teach me a lesson.
No, but it does.
What's the lesson that you learn in Jaws? Don't go swimming because a fucking shark's gonna eat you.
No, you know what you learn from Jaws.
All right, what lesson did you get out of Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay,
out of that particular movie.
I don't know that movie, so I couldn't say what I learned. But if it's from Killer Clowns from Outer Space,
But you cannot tell me as a you cannot tell me as a 12-year-old that if your mom set you up for not the Camp Crystal Lake, but a camp called Crystal Lake, you cannot tell me you wouldn't be freaked out.
Okay, I was.
Or if you grew up in Haddonfield,
wait,
you would not go fucking. Even if it's a different Haddonfield.
Two quick little points. Okay, I was a Cub Scout and then a Boy Scout. Okay, and on the first fucking camping trip, I only went on one. Dude, I was so freaked out. I was like, somebody gonna fucking kill me out here in the woods.
Me too.
They taught you a lesson. Taught you fear your shit. in the fucking woods.
And then, unfortunately, I'm going to bring this one, and it's a little local, but over in Morton Grove, which is, from here it's a little far, but a general vicinity, it's a suburb of Chicago. There just happens to be a street right by the train station called Elm Street.
It's not in Morton Grove. That's in Park Ridge.
No, it's in Morton Grove.
It's on Prospect. And yes, it is. It's in Park Ridge, right by the country club.
I'm pretty sure there's an Elm
It's
Street.
3 blocks from my house.
No.
I'm going to take a picture of it on the way home, put it on the Facebook.
That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, what does it lead into?
What does what lead into?
Elm Street.
It's a street. What
No,
do you mean?
it leads into a dead end into the Forest Preserve by Morton Grove.
Oh, this one leads into the country club.
But no, that's what I'm saying. It cuts off.
Yeah, okay.
So Elm Street, which is in Morton Grove, picks back up by you.
Okay.
Leads into the Forest Preserve, and you have the sign that says Elm Street and then dead end. And it used to freak me the fuck out as a kid. There's like 4 houses on that street. On one side, and across the street from it is woods, and it dead ends into the woods. I'm like,
I met a drove
fuck
on
that,
that
not
street.
going anywhere. You met a dude? Where?
No, drove on that street. I drive on random streets at night.
Well,
Especially by Forest
we're going to
Preserve.
get to some I know one of the main focuses that we're trying to stay on topic with is horror movies, but I want to get into some personal accounts of shit like that.
Oh, we got some ghost stories later. 'cause
Oh, I love ghost stories.
I got 2 of them.
I got
Cool.
one about a hippopotamus.
We're almost there. What are we on? We're on. Okay.
We're into the 2000s, and
So now we're getting late 2000s. This is when I think that the movies did start picking up again. You had. You could say it out loud. Okay. One of my favorite movies that came back up at that time was this movie called Trick or Treat. Have either of you seen it? It's like
is that the one with fucking Gene
2009.
Simmons?
Huh?
Is that the one with Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne?
No.
I don't think I've heard of it.
This is like a 2009, 2010 movie, somewhere along those lines. And one of my other all-time favorite slasher flicks that came out at this time. What happened?
No. Adam's got something he's going to bring up a little bit later that I want to make mention of.
And the other one that I wanted to bring up was Behind the Mask.
Son of the Mask?
No. The Legend of Leslie Vernon. Neither of you have seen that yet either, have you?
No.
Okay, so those are the 2 that came out recently that really was like, wow with me. Okay, so the first one...
Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat. That one's actually... Okay, the movie is so well done. I don't want to ruin too much because I actually do want both you guys to go check it out.
Is it on Netflix?
It was last Halloween. I have it on DVD. I'll borrow you that.
Cool.
Okay. It's actually 4 or 5 parallel stories going together on Halloween night, and they actually like intersect, but you don't realize it because first you watch one guy's story for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? And then you'll start watching the second one, and then you'll see the character for the first one, like how they all intertwined. It's just ingenious how they did it, and it's on this particular Halloween night, and it's a couple years old.
I think The Simpsons did something like that once.
They very well may have. It's a crazy good movie, and I do suggest watching that.
I'm just looking up the cast in it.
It's relatively.
See if there's anybody that
I don't think there's anybody famous in that movie.
jumps out at me.
I think that one chick is in it. I don't know. Whatever. Not important. The second one is Behind the Mask. Another one that I suggest you guys watch. This one is actually one of the most interesting plots to a movie I've ever seen. It actually starts off as the serial killer announces himself.
Oh, Doc Connors is in it from Spider-Man.
In which one?
Trick or Treat.
Sure. I don't know who that is.
Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, he's in it. Yeah. Okay. So the guy comes out and he says, yes, I'm a serial killer. And the movie starts off as this camera crew is making a documentary about him.
I've heard about this.
Being a serial killer. And he's letting him in to all the tricks of the trade. Okay? And he's actually like setting up to go on his big night where he kills all the teens. And I don't want to tell you guys what happened because this is another great one. But trust me, good flick.
They're
actually making a second one.
Okay.
This was like a very low budget. Didn't get much of anything. Again, no big names. Great movie.
You know, when we were talking about the 60s and 70s, I'm going to reel it back for 1 second. That's you started to. I couldn't place it, but when the sci-fi started to merge with the horror a little bit. It was grindhouse is what they would generally call them. It was grindhouse flicks. I couldn't remember for the life of me like the specific genre of what they kind of called those type of movies. They were grindhouse movies.
Nathan Basil, that was him.
Okay.
Didn't they do a recent one with Grindhouse?
Yeah, that's Robert Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino, but which also talking about vampires. You're gonna mention Dusk Till Dawn?
I was gonna in a little bit. I also wanted to talk about Hatchet real quick because that was another one that came out in the late 2000s that I really enjoyed. Just check that one out if you haven't. I don't want to ruin too much of these more recent ones because
had a quote on it from Sam Raimi and said the best horror movie since Evil Dead.
it was a good one. It was a good flick. I know you wanted to talk a little bit. We're still in the 2000s because Adam wanted to talk on Paranormal Activities a bit. Yeah.
Yes, I liked the first one. I saw like a midnight launch for it for free. The whole theater was packed, and the movie, if you haven't seen it, it plays off as this couple more or less using a
Handycam?
well, it's not a handycam though. It's like a full blown camera.
Okay.
And he sets it up in their bedroom because his wife apparently has some paranormal stuff going on. So he's trying to catch it, and it goes through during the day and during the night. It's interesting because it was originally done with not a lot of money, but it got a shit ton of money. And there's just one scene that stands out to me. That they're in bed laying, and the wife is dragged out of bed and down a hallway just by her leg.
Yeah.
And to me, that just scared the shit out of me for some reason. I don't know why. And it was, I found also the story behind it interesting. I felt if they would have uploaded it to YouTube, it might have got more of a viral feel to it, because to me, it seemed like this could have actually have happened.
Well, that was the thing. It was the first movie in a long time since I think the Blair Witch Project that people mistakenly thought was real. They're like, no. Like, I remember people saying that. Like, no, Paranormal Activities really happened. It's like, no, it didn't. But, good for you that you can get that wrapped up,
Because Cloverfield happened, too.
Yeah, it's like no, it's still a fucking movie. It was a good movie, whatever. It started getting a little overblown. I don't think they needed 4 of them. I think we said all we needed to say with the first Paranormal Activity. But, hey, they made a lot of movies, so good for them.
Well, the second one I felt was kind of needed, just a little. It gave a little more backstory, kind of to the family and all that stuff. But the third one, and now I don't know what they're doing exactly with the fourth one, but I was just kind of like, you can stop now.
You know what else we've seen a lot of? There's a lot of exorcism movies now. That's become a thing again.
Yeah, like The Last Exorcism, the
Of
one with Emily Rose.
the remake of Rex?
Last House on the Left, didn't that have to do with some demons and shit?
The New England or whatever it was. There's that one.
New Hampshire, New Hampshire or something.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And then there's the Saw movies, which I preferred to call shock horror. Okay, the plots are horrible. In my opinion.
See, I thought the first one was brilliant. Brilliant.
Here's my thing, okay? If you take out the blood and gore and you insert Batman, okay, you basically have one issue of the Riddler.
Okay.
Okay. To me, it was just like, how does someone... Oh my god. Tony fell. Give us a second.
Delete that part?
So Tony fell down and busted his ass.
Okay, so I'm starting to
Tell
think.
the story. Tell the story.
I'm starting to think Jason's house is haunted because I'm talking shit about Paranormal Activity and calling it fake and saying it's not real, and all of a sudden this chair breaks.
Well, do you believe in ghosts?
I do not.
That is why I've heard countless stories of people that do not believe in paranormal stuff. It's usually the ones that happen. Why do you keep doing that?
Because you keep hitting the table.
Oh.
And
There's a lot of tapping. He's a podcasting virgin, and he's making a lot of background noise. So sorry, but
yeah,
you'll hear it when you're listening to the cast later.
We keep it natural. We don't try to edit and filter shit out.
I'm Italian. I talk with my hands.
I'm Italian. I don't slap tables.
You got things in your hands. That's why.
Anyways, so Tony's okay. Sorry about the pause there.
It was pretty fucking funny.
We were in the middle of a story, and he fell and busted his ass.
Okay, so what the hell was I talking about?
We were talking about Saw, and I was talking about how I don't really care for the movies because they're horror for the sake of horror.
Okay. That's right. I thought Saw 1 was...
I heard that chair creak, and I had to
Yeah, watch this one breaks through. The ghosts are like, oh, you don't believe me? Take that. No, the first Saw I really did think was brilliant. The remaining 9 of them, exaggeration, of course, what is there, 4 or 5.
Oh no,
Six?
there's I thought there was
No, 4 or 5 on top
Yeah.
of the first one. So
Yeah, no, there's like 7 of them.
okay.
There's a ton.
I do not think that while they were entertaining enough to like sit through, I wouldn't exactly call them like memorable or something that you have to have in your DVD collection.
Yeah.
The first one I do think was a great movie though. I really do. I think it was
u-
revolutionary. It was unique. It was
but
yeah.
see, I also watch a lot of shock film from Japan, so to me it wasn't anything different, like non-horror movie Old Boy and shit like that.
Those are freaking delicious.
You've never had vanilla Coke?
It's the elixirs of the god.
Yeah.
That's fucking delicious.
I think
It tastes like a melted root beer float.
Run out
or
to
a-
your store
a
now
rooted
and buy some
root beer
vanilla
or melted Coke float.
Yeah. So yeah, now we're caught up for the most part. They're doing a lot of remakes of old films and stuff. They're actually, and I'm kind of on the fence about it. They are remaking The Evil Dead.
Really?
Yeah, it's scheduled to come out next year. But it's actually being produced by Sam Raimi.
Speaking of remakes, I mean, we can at least get into that relatively soon, because I know some of the one I know we keep going back to them and whatnot, but some of the ones I wanted to talk to, the reboots as of late, were like Friday the 13th got remade.
Yeah,
I know they remade what the hell is it called?
that vampire movie. Are you talking about the vampire movie? There's a vampire movie. It's got the guy that plays Doctor Who in it, or the old Doctor Who.
I don't watch Doctor Who.
Okay.
I'm
Takes
talking.
place in Vegas, I think, or near Vegas. Maybe not even near Vegas.
The Hills Have Eyes was remade recently. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
No,
Well, I'm talking about the big ones because we're talking about.
it was a big movie in the old day, back in a while ago. It was a vampire movie. There's a kid, a vampire moves next door. Fright Night, that's it.
Okay. But yes, we can talk about that. That's not the one I was thinking of. I was thinking of Nightmare on Elm Street, how they remade that. Just recently with the new Freddy Krueger, because it wasn't Robert Englund. Made a lot of controversy. The other one they remade recently was the Halloweens. Rob Zombie was taking care of those. He made 2 of them. There's also Psycho got remade, but that was back in the 90s. And what's his face? Vince Vaughn actually plays Norman Bates. No? We didn't see this one?
I didn't know.
Okay. Not very good. They stuck too closely to the original one. So it was like watching 1960s quality of horror movie, like the terrible special effects and all that. But there's none of the nostalgia because there's no excuse for it because it was made in the 90s, early 2000s. So it should have definitely been more gory and more bloody and whatnot. How about yourself? What were the remakes that...
I actually want to save them for because I think that's literally like an entire subject for another.
So let's get out of it while we can. Is what you're saying?
Remakes and sequels. I kind of wanna save.
We'll do those in our day.
make 'em, yeah.
Okay, let's get closer to wrapping her up then. What are we at?
Well, I think we're done.
We're getting
with,
close to modern day.
Yeah, we're caught up with modern day.
So I know I wanted to hit on the vampires a little. Is there anything you guys?
The only thing that I want to do before we actually wrap is I want to do like a quick little horror story or something like that.
Oh, ghost stories.
Yeah.
So let me talk vampires. You guys interject if you want, and then we'll close the show out on some ghost stories.
Yeah, definitely.
And call it a day. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Vampires. I know I wanted to get into this a little bit earlier. Throughout the course of history, there's been ridiculous amount of vampire movies. I like what they did. Started with Nosferatu, right? Mm-hmm. Then moved into modern day with modern day,
Bram Stoker, Evolution of the Vampire.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Bram Stoker is actually where you get, and him and the character Bela Lugosi played is actually where you get a lot of the stereotypical things that will kill vampires. It's from those guys. That's what I meant by saying that in the 30s you don't even realize it. That's where all of your stereotypes were created. The stake to the heart, the anti-garlic, the no crucifixes, no sunlight, so on and so forth. That's where all those stereotypes came from. With vampire movies, I do tend to like the older ones. I did like Lost Boys. I think Interview with the Vampire was the last great vampire movie that was ever made. Are you trying to think of something post that, or are you?
I'm kind of trying to think of something.
That was the one that kind of set up, unfortunately, the garbage that is modern day vampires, and I'm talking, of course, about fucking Twilight and True Blood and
don't say Buffy and Angel.
I wasn't going to. I was going to talk about that other one. Vampire Diaries,
which you're addicted to,
and I watch it. I watched all these. I gotta know. I can't bash them without watching them.
What about the vampires and Supernatural?
That one's all right, but
the last great vampire movie post Interview with a Vampire was Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Yeah, that was a good one. Leslie Nielsen.
Gotta give him the props.
But Interview with the Vampire, what I felt it did was it basically wrote all of these modern day things that people go crazy over, like True Blood and all that. It's basically even Vampire Diaries too. It's about this vampire who's good, who's got this constant struggle because he's a vampire. So he's got the need for blood, but fights it with every breath in his body. It's like this constant conflict, and there's this right-hand person in Interview with the Vampire was Tom Cruise's character, who is constantly trying to get him to be bad. And they ripped that off, and they're not even vampires anymore. Well, they're like these douches in these fucking skinny jeans with this moosed up hair, and they're all like,
that's why I know
it's not a vampire.
I know you're not a Buffy or Angel fan, but that was, and they don't try to rewrite history. They actually play into history. In an episode of Buffy, she actually fights Dracula, okay? She stakes Dracula. He goes into a pile of dust, and he comes back.
Yeah.
And they turn it into a joke. She's like, how many times do I have to do this? Because you can't... They played it. But Angel, more specifically, kind of played off Interview with a Vampire a little bit, where Angel was the good guy struggling to stay good, and he always had the hunger there and everything. And then you had the character Spike, who was the exact opposite, and he was always like egging him on and trying to get the bad side out again. I think I saw Interview with the Vampire, and then I started watching that, and because of Interview with the Vampire, made me appreciate the shows.
They all do that. I mean, in Vampire Diaries, you got the good guy. I can't remember their characters' names, but you got the younger brother who's the main character, and he's trying to. Oh, and they always fall in love with the human. But he's trying. They're all the same, right? Everybody's nodding their head, and it's always the brother over his shoulder who's the bad one, who's like, "Come on, you're a vampire. Go out, be a killer." And that's Vampire Diaries. True Blood, you got that same thing where the main character who's inappropriately way too old for the chick main character. I can't think of their names either. The blonde girl with the big gap in her teeth, and then the old dude who she's married to in real life is the main vampire, and he's the good one who's struggling with it and doesn't want to eat humans. And then he's got his little cousin that runs the area next door, the blonde hair guy. I can't think of any of these fucking guys' names.
I know there's the Viking, Eric the
Viking. The Viking, that's the one. And he's the bad one. He's like, you're a vampire, go out there, kill people, blah, 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 blah. It's the same crap over and over and over. And it was cool and revolutionary when Interview with the Vampire did it. And they did it so well, it didn't need to be redone over the course of 3 television shows later on in life.
I agree.
The vampires don't wear skinny jeans. They don't.
No, and that's what was so funny about Angel. They always made fun of his outfits. They always ragged on him about like look at your fucking slick back hair and your tight pants. And he's like, what? What's wrong with them? Yeah. Before we get into the ghost stories, since we have you here, sir, it is October. Movies, books, video games, or TV show, anything horror related that you're looking forward to for this month?
I believe, it could be wrong, but I think either the new Paranormal or the new Silent Hill is coming out this month.
The game or the movie?
The movie.
I don't know if
Paranormal Activity 4 is coming out this month.
Yeah. What about I know you watched American Horror Story last year.
Oh yes, that too is starting on my birthday.
The Asylum, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The second season is starting on my birthday.
Have you seen any of American Horror Story?
Yeah. I saw the preview for it.
But I mean, have you ever watched any?
Yeah.
Okay, I have not.
Don't start any. You need to start from the beginning, or you're going to be lost.
Okay.
Like me.
How about you, sir?
I'm actually looking forward to
I apologize.
two kitty movies that are coming up. I actually want to see Hotel Transylvania, I think it's called.
I think that already came out.
It did. I didn't go see it yet. I just thought we were talking about shit we're going to do this month.
No, totally.
And the other thing I actually want to go see is Tim Burton's new horror flick.
That is not a new horror movie.
Frankenweenie.
That is not a new movie.
Yeah, I know it's his old idea from back in the day.
Which he made a movie of.
He just made it now.
No. Frankenweenie is a short film that he made.
Way back in the day. I know, I saw it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So why am I going to pay to see a movie and it's going to be fucking animated? I'm just ragging on it a little
You're
bit.
just jelly.
No. I apologize. I kind of bounced back from you. Shut up, Adam. It was the old man sneezing.
He is not ready to go.
Yeah. I don't know if Silent Hill's this month or...
Well, I do know that I think Orlando Studios they do apparently
Universal Studios Orlando is doing a Silent Hill attraction.
Yes.
And they're doing a Walking Dead one.
I wanted to go
this
there.
weekend is Resident Evil Day at Six Flags.
Is it?
Yes, and if you pre-ordered it and picked it up, your copy, you got from GameStop. They gave you, I think, like $10 off your ticket.
Oh.
I think. Or 12
I don't like Great America.
I love Great America.
I've been spoiled.
15 minutes.
I've been spoiled on Universal Studios. That's why.
Cedar Point's where it's at.
No, but I'm saying for like the horror stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, because I mean you're talking about Universal. They have all the monsters.
Yeah.
For me, next Sunday is the return of The Walking Dead, which I am so looking forward to that I may or may not make the podcast next week.
Yeah, Jason might not be on for compatible next week.
It's a possibility depending on scheduling and time frame and everything.
Wait, is that this week? Like in 3 days?
No,
in a week.
Next,
Okay.
next Sunday, the 14th.
Gotta grab this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll sort it out.
Sort it out.
But yeah, that's for me is The Walking Dead, and then I'm still waiting, even though I know it's got negative reviews and it'll come up in this week's podcast. I'm kind of looking forward to playing Resident Evil 6.
I'm gonna play it one day. I wasn't saying that. I just, I know what to expect already. I wasn't.
You're outnumbered this time.
Well,
I got
you were
Adam.
actually out today. Angry Andy was actually here. And
Bullshit.
I got to play
Bullshit.
with Angry
He's
Andy
not in
on
the
Resident
state.
Evil 6.
He's not in the States.
He was here while you were gone. I was here. We got to play Resident Evil 6 together. We played split screen co-op. It is awesome.
He is a figment of your imagination. He does not really
Yeah,
exist.
my figment of my imagination saved my ass quite a few times.
I'm sure. Did you run off ahead? Let me ask.
Yes, I did.
Did you try to shock baton somebody and get?
We did not play that campaign, actually. I did not have access to a shock baton. I had access to a giant 12-inch knife.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
The
Sweet.
ghost stories?
We're time for our ghost stories.
Who would like to go first? I think we should do age.
Okay.
Oldest.
I'm gonna need a minute to think on mine.
Oh.
I'm gonna be honest.
Well, I have a couple.
I have 2 as well.
Well,
Go ahead, kick one out. Kick it off.
Kick it off. This
Kick
is
it off.
This is the least creepy of the one. Let me start this off with a preface. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in aliens. I don't believe in anything paranormal. I don't believe in anything religious. I'm pretty much a skeptic across all platforms. I don't think Bigfoot's real. I don't think Nessie's real. Nothing. So these are the closest I have to okay. So here in the Chicagoland area, it's pretty common knowledge that there's a couple supposedly haunted areas out in the burbs. I actually have 3. One in the city too. Okay, we'll talk about the one in the burbs. There's these 2 like infamous places. One's called Bachelor's Grove, and the other's called Cuba Road, which actually has an extension called Rainbow Road off to the side of it. You can actually look these up from your house. They're big enough where they should get hits if you do just Cuba Road, Chicago, and Bachelor's Grove, Chicago.
I'll touch on Bachelor's Grove a little bit.
Okay. Bachelor's Grove is an old cemetery.
Over 100 years old.
What's creepy about it is not the fact that it's just a cemetery, it's the way you get into the cemetery.
Yes.
What it is it's so much overgrowth. If you can picture this,
Well, it's actually inside a forest preserve.
Yeah, there's like a huge, but the way to get to the front gate is like this huge walkway. It's maybe like 100 yards, and on either side, it's thick thick bushes, and and there's only like a 3-foot gap in between the two bushes. So you're walking down this creepy pathway toward the gate of the cemetery that's supposedly haunted, and you only got like a few feet on either side, so like anything could pop out. And we didn't actually see anything per se, but
part of it is too. If you haven't actually noticed, I don't know how many times you've been.
just a couple.
It actually narrows the closer that you get.
See that I didn't pay attention to.
And see the interesting thing, if you can follow us along, okay, draw a straight line that narrows out, right? And the path does not lead directly to the gate. As you're walking down the path, all of a sudden the gate is to your right. It curves.
Okay. I don't remember it that well,
Yeah.
but I'll take your word for it. And that particular night, we didn't see anything. So then we decided to take the 30 or 40-minute cruise over to Cuba Road, which is way the fuck out in the burbs. Different burb. But it starts on this nonchalant road called Cuba Road. You have to hang a left from our neck of the woods, and you take that down to this street called Rainbow Road, which is a cutoff. And there's a small cemetery on one side. There's an old insane asylum to the other side, and a supposed, which I didn't see, disappearing and reappearing house that if you get into, you and it disappears, you're stuck in it for an eternity and stuff like that. There's also supposed to. It's almost like the culmination of every urban legend ever is at this one spot. Because there's also an old truck that's supposed to drive up and down one headlight, and if it catches you, or if it sees you, it'll chase you down and kill you or whatever. It's almost like everything's there. Again, we didn't see much. We saw a couple of those orbs over the cemetery, but that's about the extent of it, and that could have just been tricks, eyes playing tricks.
Did you see the house?
No, the house, the insane asylum is there, always. The house that disappears and reappears, no, we didn't see it.
Nice.
It's a really, really creepy area. You can see where, like, the people's minds play tricks on them. And for our area, because Illinois is like really flat for those of you wherever you happen to live. But this is like, this particular section is, it's almost like San Francisco-esque, where it's all like crazy hills. So you don't even know, and it's all at night, and it's very poorly lit because it's so far away from the city that in Chicago, the farther away you get from downtown, the more spread out the artificial lighting is. So when you get into the deep, deep burbs, there's only an occasional street light. It's just like really creepy, and like the way it's set up, you could see why people would freak out, but we didn't see anything.
Interesting, because I've never heard of this one.
Yeah, look them shits up after we get off the thing. Yeah.
Maybe Adam and I will take a ride.
I'll come out there with you guys.
Tonight?
That's what we do.
Maybe.
Party!
You said you had a third
A third what?
story.
No, that was my first story. This was all in one night.
Okay.
No, I thought we'd go
Okay, cool.
around and knock out a couple stories. So no, we didn't really. Another chair we're gonna break.
No, that was my little table.
So
Sorry.
I didn't exactly see anything on either one, but the whole experience is fun. I know I don't really believe in it, so I didn't think anything was gonna happen. But yeah, go ahead.
Kicking it off to Adam.
Okay. I actually do believe in aliens and paranormal stuff and like conspiracies and all that, but I am a skeptic. If I can't find a logical reason for why it happened, then I'll toss it up to paranormal. Okay. That's why I like photos of orbs and things. I don't really like because there's a good chance that it is
just
probably dust or a water particle. Those don't get any. But there was this one night that I was my friend asked me to come over to his house, and he has a very distinct red shirt that I know very well because he wears it a lot. And I came over and I'm ringing the doorbell, and he's not answering the door. Well, the way he had it was like a little staircase you'd go up, and there was like a big, because it was an apartment building, there was like this big glass window that you could like, that was his, English, that went into his living room that you could peer into. Sometimes my brain needs a reboot. Well, I'm peering over the balcony, the staircase, trying to see in, his apartment is pitch black. So I tried to go down in front of the window to see if I can see, maybe if he's in the kitchen, in his room, one of those things, being a creeper that I am. And while I'm down there, so he had his, what are they called? Not shades, not blinds. Curtains. He had his curtains closed. And I remember seeing him, or at least I thought him, standing there in his red shirt, holding his DS at the time, because I could see a light glowing from his chest, looking out the window. And I'm yelling at him, hey, open the door, hey, open the door. And he just kind of looked at me and walked back. and it was all blurry because of the curtain. And his landlord, who lived upstairs, opened the window and he was asking me, "What the fuck am I doing? Why am I yelling at 10 o'clock at night for somebody to open the door?" And I'm like, "Oh, so and so told me to come over." And he goes, "Well, he went actually out like before you got here to go pick up somebody else." And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." So I'm texting him, and finally he responds saying, "Oh yeah, I went to go pick up so and so. We'll be back shortly." And sure enough, 15 minutes later, they come rollerblading down the street. He's not wearing the red shirt, and I was just kind of like, "What the hell
What
did I
see in that window?
What was I seeing?" Because it was no way he could have gotten to that person's house and rollerbladed back in 15 minutes.
That's pretty creepy. Jace.
I talked really fast.
Yeah. So I also have been to Bachelor's Grove. I went during the day because I'm a chicken shit coward. Okay. I also was completely unfamiliar with the area, was not driving.
Well, hold on before you get into your story, since we both delved into it. What are your beliefs and non-beliefs?
Okay. I am an extreme skeptic. Okay. I find it all very interesting and take in as much information as I can about it. There are instances and cases of things that I've personally experienced that I cannot explain. So I'm open to the thought, but I'm also very opinionated and won't buy into it to that regard.
I just wanted to hop in real quick. I know I already went with the first one. I wanted it because Jason made me think of it. I find all of it ridiculously interesting. Like, I've read most of the Quran. I've read the Bible. I watch Monster Quest. I watch Lost. I watch all. I don't believe in any of this shit. I watch Ghost Adventures. I love the ideas behind it all, but I separate it all as fiction.
Yeah. See, for me, I have we're the same age.
Yeah.
I tend to have a very overactive imagination, and I can actually convince myself
that shit
of some shit. So, went to Bachelor's Grove because I wanted to see it. I've visited many local spots of different things, either be it historical happenances in the city or the strange and obscure, things like that. So the holy grail of the Chicagoland area is Bachelor's Grove. It is actually chalked up as one of the most haunted places in America. Completely illegal to go into, by the way.
Oh yeah. I was never there. What are you talking about?
In going there, I found it very interesting. Just the fact that how unkept it is, with it being such a well-known place that they know that people go to and nobody maintains it or anything like that. I also found it very disturbing in the regards of there's actually visibly I found a pig's leg. And
really?
Yeah, a pig's leg and different candles and things like that from where people were doing seances. I have a video of something flashing across the screen. I still can't tell what it is. It's a little light, just like you're supposed. Which, going into it, did no research. Just knew place is supposed to be haunted. Okay. Again, what it is in the video, not 100% sure. It's one little flicker. I can show it to you guys later if I can find it. What actually disturbed me and was kind of in that obscure thing is there's a giant, big fucking headstone right in the middle of it. And we're walking around, we're taking our pictures and everything like that, and we're like looking at it and and everything, and then you turn around, and we literally turn back, and the thing is covered in spiders out of nowhere. I don't know why. It's very, very weird, but literally, and I'm not talking like 10, 15, I'm talking like 50 to 100 spiders all over it, and it just kind of was very unsettling, and not overthinking it, but I was like, okay, something just weird there's a weird vibe, something in my brain is telling me it's time to go.
Okay.
So we left at that point.
Is it not there anymore? Okay.
Where'd you put your cord?
Oh, whatever. No problem. So that's one. Did you went once, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'll hop in.
If you hear some weird background noises, I'm actually trying to find said video at the moment. and I have a bunch. They're unlabeled, so...
Okay. So I'll hop into two more mini ones, because they're both very, very small and short. Like I mentioned earlier, my birthday is in October. And one of the traditions that me and my best friend have, because we're both big golfers, is he's born in September and I'm born in October. And for our birthdays, we always go to a new golf course for both of our birthdays. So we make sure to hit up 2 new golf courses every year. So last year, for my birthday, this happened. This was just more creepy. I don't think it had to do anything to do with a ghost. But we're at this golf course that right next to it, because it's kind of in Bumblefuck, and there's like a horse ranch right next to one of the holes. So I'll check it out in a minute. Yeah.
No, that's not the video. It's just a picture of the head stuff.
Yeah. So we're just getting ready to putt. We're both on the green, and we're at the part of the course that's closest to the horse ranch, and the screams that were coming out of it was like. It was really unsettling. Like, I wish he was here just to back me up on this. It was so fucked. Like, horses screaming. Like, I don't know if it was a live birth, and I think that's what we were like talking ourselves into. Like, maybe it was just a mommy horse like in pain from giving. But it's not like brutal, like hacker movie shit. The screams that were coming from these horses. It was messed up. Seriously. I don't know. That was a mini one. Another mini one I got. I used to, as many of you know, I bartend, and there's this nightclub downtown Chicago that I used to work at. That's also very world famous for being haunted as well.
You worked at Excalibur?
I did.
Sorry.
They both already knew it. Yes, it's Excalibur nightclub. You can look it up as well. I used to bartend there for only like 6 or 8 months, but there was a time when I was there with the general manager of the club. I don't know if he still works there or not. We were hanging out, having a beer after work, and it was just like us two in the entire building, and it's a really big building, and some glasses broke, like, off in the distance, but I chalked that up to, like, just, like, loose, like, I've worked at a bunch of bars where random glasses break. You're just in that mindset, you're like, oh, I'm an Excalibur, that's kind of creepy. I don't really think it was a ghost, but some shit was breaking off in the distance, and we were literally the only two in the entire club.
Speaking of Excalibur, I saw some videos on it. There's apparently an angel, I think, a small statue, a small angel that I don't know where it's at, but there's a giant, like, dome ceiling, I think, in Excalibur.
There's a bunch of, the thing's huge. It's
there's apparently a tiny, like, I don't know if it's porcelain or what, statue of an angel that's sitting on one of the ledges that apparently moves around the circle. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I know there's a dome. I never saw, like, a movie. I never saw anything that creepy there. I really didn't.
It doesn't like move. Like, you don't see it move. It's like one day it'd be like here. Next day you'll come in and it's there.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, it's a really old building. I think it used to be used as a mental facility before
church at one point.
At one point as well, yeah.
It's a church.
It's a really cool building. Because I actually worked. It's 2 clubs that work together, and I bartended at both them, Vision and Excalibur, at the time. So I've been at literally every square foot of that building. It's freaking huge, and I don't know. I never saw anything that crazy in there. I really didn't, but yeah, it was kind of cool that one night. That was about it.
My second story that I have, it actually happens at the same apartment that my first one happened at. I was supposed to be moving into that apartment. Quick backstory: my friends and us, we're not very touchy-feely to each other. So any of my friends touching me is very weird, sort of. So. Stop it. No.
We're all touching them now just to bug them.
But this is when we had first started moving into the apartment. We didn't have a couch or anything. The only person that had a bed was the girl that lived there, and she also had a lazy boy in her bedroom. And sometimes nights when I'd spend there, I'd sleep in the living room up against the wall because it was warm. Well, that night, specific night, I decided to take the lazy boy. Next thing I know, one of the roommates comes in and just starts like massaging my head, then asks who's there, and I mentioned that it's me. And he goes, "Oh, I could have sworn I just saw you laying in the living room." And so I've come to the conclusion that whatever was there liked mimicking people, because I had seen my friend there and my friend saw me there, and when we both weren't in that vicinity, so it was kind of creepy. That
nice.
Also because my friend was touching me. That too.
Creepy.
Nice. Nice. Used to work at a bowling alley locally that was actually from the early 1900s. It used to be a barn. We found some really, really creepy murals painted on the walls, on by the ceiling. It's weird shit. As the story goes, the one mechanic that used to work at the bowling alley died while repairing lane 18. Okay, it was an 18-lane bowling alley, and with my own eyes, I used to hang out there all the time. We'd be closed. It'd be 4:00 in the morning. Me and a couple friends sitting around watching TV. Nothing.
Yeah, smoking cigarettes, whatever, dicking around.
Yeah. Lane 18 would actually turn on by itself for no apparent reason. No shorts, no problems. Really fucking weird. Along with that, at the far end of the bowling alley by lane 1, there's usually a door that hides, to get to the back. Well, this one was always open, and you could see the exit light, and you'd always catch, out of the corner of your eye, a shadow moving. Now, I mean, nothing was ever 100% confirmed. We could never actually, it's one of those where you turn and there's nothing there, but I wasn't the only one to actually catch it. And again, the lane turning on, we'd actually have to get up and go and flip the switch and turn it off.
Now, I do have a question for you then with that. Do you know how the guy died?
Heart attack.
Heart attack. Okay.
Heart attack while working on the machine,
fell
fell into the machine.
Oh. Awkward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is my last one, so if you guys got 2 or 3, get them out now.
No, I might hang a couple for future if we decide.
I had a creepy experience. I don't know if I'm gonna call this paranormal or what, but my second trip to Texas got canceled because of this. Me and my friend, he lived out in Algonquin at the time, and I picked him up. And as we were driving back to my house to get my luggage, because he had some stuff he had to do the day before. We were gonna leave early in the morning. As we were driving back, it was kind of stormy and it kind of got kind of foggy over the highway. And when we were driving, we could have sworn that the highway opened up into a giant skull mouth. There was the highway clear as could be, but there was fog all around it that looked like a skull mouth. And that morning, I got into my first car accident. Back of my car totally got totaled. Followed by that, my dad got a speeding ticket, which my dad never gets. A speeding ticket, so we could not go to Texas no matter anywhere I wanted. My car, my dad's, we could not leave the state because of it. And I just thought that was just kind of creepy. That
would have been more fucked up if that plane that we were supposed to be on crashed or something.
Oh no, we were going to drive.
Oh, I was going to say a sign that you weren't supposed to go, some Final Destination shit.
No, then I'd be dead.
Him talking about fog actually made me think of one quick one.
Go for it.
This isn't Halloween at all. It's just me almost having a heart attack. So a few years back, I'm dating this chick who lives in Indiana. So we're going back to hang out by her fucking neck of the woods, which isn't really that bad from Chicago. It's 45-minute drive or whatever. So we're driving over there, and Indiana's fucking messed up. There's no street light. It's so screwed up, especially at night. And so I'm cruising. This is right when I got my Trans Am,
okay.
A couple months after. So I'm cruising, and it's all hilly over there and weird. And then it's super foggy, and I can't see shit. I got my fog lights on. I'm like this. I cannot see any fucking thing. All of a sudden, we come down this hill, and it's just trees all in front of me, and I'm doing 40. So I'm as I slam on the brakes and cut the wheel to the left, the whole car skidded. I got 3-4 people in the car. We're going like this, and we stopped just before we went into a ravine.
Wow,
it was messed up.
Yeah. Adam kind of passed me a note and brought up one for me to mention. We used to go to this cyber cafe on Cumberland Avenue. Okay, further down Cumberland is Forest Preserve by Cumberland and Belmont. Can't think of the name of it.
Indian Boundary.
Yeah, there's the cemetery on one side.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And Forest Preserve on the other. Well, there's always been, urban legends and myths of shit going on there and whatnot. Mancow did a special about shit going on there. Never thought anything of it. We're coming down Belmont to take a left onto Cumberland. And there's a stoplight right in the middle of the street, and we're at the stoplight, and I just happened to look into my buddy's rearview mirror, and there's 3 hooded figures coming from the cemetery, walking into the forest preserve. We turn around and look to confirm that, I am seeing what we're seeing. I mean, they're probably about 100 yards back. So, and as we turn and look forward, up by the next light, we see 2 more hooded figures running into the woods. So that's just one of those very odd occurrences. A lot of weird shit's going on in those woods.
I saved my best for last. I don't know. Did you hit? Okay. It's my last one then.
Shaking your head, microphone doesn't.
Yeah, the microphone doesn't know.
But the viewers can feel me.
All right, so this is my absolute last ghost story.
Tony's gonna knock it out of the park right now. You ready for this?
This was the absolute closest I've ever got to believing in ghosts. This was the one thing, like, you hear how adamant I am that I do not believe in any of this shit. This was the one thing that I was kind of like, whoa, maybe? Okay. Huh?
So when the power goes out in the middle of your story.
Another chair fucking breaks. No. All right, so I'm over at my buddy's house. This is like freshman year, I want to say, of high school. Okay?
So about like 14, 15 years ago then, yeah?
No.
28?
27? I don't know.
Anyways, I'm just trying
maybe
trying to put a timestamp on it.
Maybe 14 years ago. Okay, so we were drinking, but we didn't get fucked up. And this was like, maybe it wasn't freshman, maybe it was sophomore year. I don't know. Whatever. We didn't get like fucked up. And this was like hours later, like after we got back. Because in those days, you slept over at your buddy's house who didn't have parents there, or when they were out of town, or when they went to bed earlier. So you guys could come in fucked up and nobody would know the difference.
Yeah.
That's what we did. So the one buddy had his parents out of town, whatever, so that's where we were crashing after the party. None of the 3 of us got really fucked up that night, so I don't want to blame it on liquor. Trust me, I know what fucked up feels like. I've been it a million times.
Yeah.
Not to mention, none of us had a beer for like 4 hours before this now, because we're all kind of hanging out, like where the hell were we going to go at that point? It was like 3, 4 in the morning. So we're getting ready to pass out, okay? So the way it happened, he's got a queen bed, the dude's room who we're in, so he sleeps on his bed, okay? My other buddy is sleeping parallel to him next to the bed on the floor, okay? The only place for me to fit was at the foot of the bed on the floor. He had a really nice carpeted, soft, plushy, whatever. He gave us a couple blankets to make a makeshift mattress, whatever, okay? So I'm pretty comfy going the length of the bed at the foot of the bed. So the stuff is, we're falling asleep and shit, and then okay, I'm trying to remember how this all happened. So we have, no, okay, so I'm passing out, and you know when you're on your pillow and you like put your hand, you can feel the pillow peel away from your face because of pressure and gravity. So my hand didn't do it, but something went on my pillow where I felt that, and it started waking me up because I wasn't quite asleep yet.
It was in that like state between.
Yeah, I was like in that middle thing. So I feel the pillow like peeling away from my face. It wakes me up. My other buddy, at the same time, jumps up, like not like screaming like a little girl, but like kind of like, what the fuck was that? And he literally stood up as we heard a door slam in the other room. This like all happened like within 3 seconds, where it was just like it didn't even register what was it. It happened so, and then we're all like freaked out. We're all like talking about it afterwards and like analyzing it for 15 minutes. That was like the most fucked up thing I've ever been through. I hope I explained that well.
Yeah, no, I got it.
It was pretty creepy.
Sweet.
Yeah. That's about the extent of it. Anybody else got any ghost stories?
And it looks like I'm crying right now, but I'm not. I don't know what it is, but
it does look like you're crying.
When we talk about paranormal stuff, my eyes just start to water.
You get a little freaked out?
I'm not freaked out. It's just that I get like so excited, my eyes just start watering, and it looks like I'm crying.
The only thing that's kind of grabbed my attention currently is, it's got a little bit to do with video games. That's what kind of brought me into it. But has anybody heard of this urban legend / historical figure called Slender Man?
Yes.
No.
I heard he was fake.
Well, there's there's a couple of YouTube videos, like a history kind of thing, where there's pictures of this elongated. I'll give you a quick backstory, okay? It's another one of those, like I said, urban legends. Tall figure, dressed in black, no face. Currently, he has like a tie, and his appendages can kind of form weird. But he's almost like this stalker being, if you will, a malevolent creature. You know, it pops up in photos, and it's one of those kind of things. But right now, he's the craze. He's all over the internet. There's video games, like little indie games and shit. And of course, me being the idiot sitting here reading about this shit, one thing leads to another, All of a sudden, you're like watching a fucking documentary on your phone on YouTube about him and shit. And it's like 4 o'clock in the morning and nobody's in your fucking apartment and the hallway light's on. So like every few seconds, you're just kind of glancing over at the hallway, just hoping that you don't see a shadow or something move. And now Adam's looking around the apartment and shit. But it's that's another case of overactive imagination kind of taking over for me, and I don't know why I do it, but I end up doing that shit to myself quite frequently.
Because it's fun.
It is to an extent, but then like I don't know what I'm gonna do if I see something, and then I reach over and touch the dog to make sure he's still there, and peek into Grandpa's room. I'll get up, and look out into the hallway. I literally like a fucking little kid. Especially
carrying around a wiffle ball bat.
Especially the form of my apartment. Like the hallway kind of does an L shape. So you kind of peek around the corner, and I leave the one kitchen light on, and just hoping that nothing's there.
It's funny you mention that. I hate to bring up another story. This is a quick one, I promise.
Go ahead, go for it.
I was spending the night at my friend's house. Completely different. I don't use names.
That's fine.
The way he had this townhouse. I think it's a townhouse. It was. There's a hallway.
Out in Bufu?
Out in Bufu.
It is a townhouse.
Okay, townhouse. There was a hallway that at the end of the hallway was the bedroom door to him and his boyfriend's room. And they had been fighting that night, and his boyfriend.
You bitch!
His boyfriend was a very spiritual kind of Native American Wiccan type spiritual stuff, and at the other end of the hallway was like this den area, I want to call it, kind of, because it's that's where they put a cot. Where you could chill and sit, and that's where I was sleeping, and I had decided to sleep head facing the room door. And in the middle of the night, because there's a window behind me, in the middle of the night, I'm laying there, and something just tells me to wake up. I sit up, and don't ask how I saw it, but something invisible jumped at me. Because I remember screaming like a little girl as loud as I possibly could as this thing jumped at me. Exactly like that. I screamed as loud as I possibly could.
That's Adam's scream. If you've ever heard Adam scream,
I was visibly shaken, and nobody in the apartment came out to check on me. The next morning, I asked, did anyone hear me scream? They said no. And the only explanation I could come to is that I know sometimes spirits, if they're trapped in a house or bad energy and stuff, they try to find the quickest way out, which is usually a window. You like going out windows. And there was a window behind me. And I don't know if it had to do with the direction of the house or whatever, but something jumped at me that was invisible and scared the bejeebers out of me.
Okay,
Sweet.
I said that's a good stopping point.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem, sir. For all of you guys out there in listening land, I know you're used to us talking video games. Please let us know what you guys think. If you guys dig the show, we're probably not going to keep these as regular. No, I doubt we're going to get to these every week. We'll just do them here and there. We're planning on doing at least one more Halloween one, at least.
Yeah.
I hope you guys have me back.
Yeah. And aside from that, let us know what you guys liked, didn't like, what you guys want us to do or see more of or less of or what have you.
And like we put up on Facebook, if you've got a topic that you want us to talk about, we'll sit around and bullshit about it if it's something that, we're interested in. We've got this isn't going to be, like you said, it's not going to be an every week thing. This is when we've got stuff outside of the video game world to talk about, where rants and things like that we want to get into.
Something big happens or whatever.
Looks like I'm going to Facebook because I just thought of a topic.
Sweet.
Nice. So and do us a favor, if you haven't already, like the new Blacklist page, let your buddies know. I mean, even if they weren't into video games, but they like other stuff, maybe they dig this if you were trying to tell them about us before.
What he's trying to say is like our shit.
Like our shit.
Yeah.
And we'll have 4 compatible up in 4 days, 3 days.
Something like that. And thank you again, Adam, for coming out. And we'll definitely we'll have you back on here. And we got to get you on the main one. We got to talk some video games.
Video games. But aside from that, yeah, thanks.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Talk to you guys later.
Peace.
I can't seem to face up to the facts. I'm tense and nervous and I can't relax. I can't sleep 'cause my bed's on fire. Don't touch me, I'm a real live wire. Psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? Fa 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 fa. Better run, 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 run away. Oh, psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? Fa 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 fa. Better run, 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 run away. Oh, you start a conversation, you can't even finish it. You're talking a lot, but you're not saying anything. When I have nothing to say, my lips are sealed. Say something once, why say it again? Psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? Fa 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 fa. Better run, 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 run away. Oh, psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? Fa 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 fa. Better run, 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 run away. Oh.